But when it comes to offices and meeting rooms, to make them accessible to a blind and visually impaired person, there are a few more things that it's good to think about. So, yeah, a little bit connected to what Yuka said. The blind person, the visually person has to be able to reach their space. So remove, again, it feels like I'm repeating myself, but I mean, it's very important that you remove the clutter so that there are no obstacles in the corridors, conference rooms, or any other open spaces. So it is easy to navigate, yeah, for the blind person or visually impaired person. Another thing that's good to think about when you're designing offices, for example, or rebuilding them and so on, is to improve lighting. And the best option is if it's possible to allow the person to control and adjust its own lighting, because this can vary a lot, depends on the visual impairment a person has. And yes, fixed seats that Yuka has mentioned. I don't know really how it is in Slovakia, but I mean in Sweden at least, there starts to be a tendency to so-called flexible seats, offices, which means that the employee doesn't have anymore his or her desk, fixed desk that he or she works at every single day, but rather there are several different places. And whenever you come to the office, yeah, whichever place is free, you're taking it. For some people, it might be good. I can understand. I mean, this can solve a lot of. It can be good solution, for example, for the companies who where employees don't work at the office every single day, but rather travel around, for example, or meeting the clients and so on. So then you can kind of minimize the working space. You can have maybe a little smaller office and so on. But from the perspective of the blind and visually impaired person, and not only, it can as well be an issue for a person with different cognitive disabilities, it can be very problematic. Because as we said several times before, especially the blind people, they rely on the structure and that they know where things are and they are there always. So when people start jumping around in the office, it's very difficult to know where is my colleague Adam sitting today? How am I supposed to reach him? So this is definitely something that you can think about when you're planning the office spaces and so on, and kind of talk about with your colleagues and within your network. That's a good thing to keep in your mind. When it comes to the kitchen, I chose the kitchen actually because it is, at least in Sweden, and I think it's in other countries as well. It is sort of this this place where you can collect, you can get together, grab a cup of coffee with your colleagues, chit chat, and brainstorm your ideas. And but it is a place that can be potentially dangerous for people with vision impairment or blind people. So it is important to keep things in order and in same place in the kitchen. So persons with visual impairment rely a lot on the expected locations, as we mentioned before. So if you will keep changing locations on things like plates or cups or where the coffee machine stands and so on, it's going to be that much more difficult for the blind and visually impaired person to actually enjoy the kitchen environment and coffee time with their colleagues. So make a place for everything and inform the visually impaired persons about the location. An organized kitchen goes a long way in making it accessible for this targeted audiences, actually. It's good to use tactile labels and markers. So you should use them on the kitchen floor, especially if it is a large one. Tactile tiles help a visually impaired person in moving around. And you can also get braille labels printed and put them on various jars and drawers and so on. Another thing that Yuka has mentioned, and something that I actually learned when I worked for the visually impaired organization a few years back, keep in your mind to always close the kitchen cabinets when you don't move them. I remember there was this situation, we were organizing some conference for youth, and we were all in the kitchen fixing dishwashers and preparing coffee breaks and so on. And I just went by what I was always doing, what I'm doing at home when I'm, for example, emptying the dishwasher. I opened the dishwasher, I took some plates, went to the cabinet, put them there, kept the cabinet open because I'm gonna go back to it in a second, went back to the dishwasher, took more plates, went back, and so on. So I kept cabinets open because I thought like, yeah, it's gonna be faster for me instead of like closing and opening them constantly, since I'm just jumping between them with a few seconds. And then I realized, I got actually informed by my colleague at that time, who was almost blind. She actually bumped her head in the cabinet. And she kind of friendly informed me like, you can't really do that, because then it's really a problematic for me and my and other people. We can get hurt. And then it was a very good lesson for me. And then I learned by experience that no, I always have to close the cabinet. Another thing that that is as well very good lesson that I learned, and I like to forward it to you. Whenever you in the office space, whenever you putting things in the dishwasher, for example, make sure that all the sharp edges are facing downward, so the blind or visually impaired person doesn't cut themselves. It's easy thing to just miss, but it's very important. Another place that I think it's good to mention are toilets. It's of course very important for everyone that we can keep our hygiene and we can use the toilets in the best way without having stressed about it. So the following features are essential so that people who are blind or have a visual impairment can access the toilet. The contrasting color of door handles, contrast again, but it is important. So think about door handles, door and door frames. They should always have a good. It's always good to know where the door is and how to open it. The same thing is when you enter the toilet or the washing room. Keep the contrast even there, so it's easy for the person who is visually impaired, for example, spot that here is a sink or here is a toilet. It's good to have assistance to navigate to the toilet room, and it can be either by that actually someone, as we were talking, for example, in the reception of a building, can assist a person to the toilet, but as well it's good if there is, for example, a tactile surfaces or and very good big signage, so visually impaired person can navigate to the toilets. A braille description is a good practice for any visual signs, as we were talking before, so like toilet, door symbol, warning signs, how to operate equipment, etc.